Yes, guys, how you doing? Welcome back to the Spurs Talk Show. Apologies for being a little bit late, a little bit tardy. We had to have some chin wags backstage about various topics, as you do, but we're going to carry them on right here. I hope you are all happy and healthy doing the things you love. It's a big day in the world of Tottenham Hotspur. We've got an hour of hopefully the latest and greatest takes from your man Lubo, from your man downstairs, the referee, the man in the middle. Chris, he should be. I should probably change the dynamic and put the man in the middle between the three of us, which I'll do at some point in the show. And of course, yours truly, as we know that Fabio Paratici is back. He's back, ladies and gentlemen. But how is he back? In what guise is he back? Well, as the story has unfolded, he is a sporting director, co-sporting director, alongside the guy who a lot of people are arguing, and I think quite rightly so, that he is responsible. Paratici was responsible for reshaping the entirety of the Tottenham Hotspur youth system, making it something that was worth taking note of. And then when he goes on his jollies to figure out his legal pursuits, the next guy comes in and goes about a pursuit of buying 4 or 5 young players that have essentially blocked the pathway for everything that he went about building. And now they are both in charge at the same level, with the same authority, with the same autonomy. And whilst they apparently have delineated lines of various interests, one very obvious overlap is that Johan Lang is in charge of the youth system, but yet Paratici's in charge of the loan system for the youth players. It looks like it could be a massive conflict. I don't know. You know me, I like to speculate and try to ruffle some feathers. We've got some logical people here, though. Guys, smash the like button, smash the subscribe, hit the notification bell, and drop your comments thick and fast like you always do. Let's find out how Lubo is feeling. Lubo, welcome back. Jet lagged?
Very
but
jet lagged.
Didn't kill you. Welcome back, my man. How are you?
Yeah, all good, thanks. Pleased to be back. Still going. I'll sleep well tonight, but God, those bloody overnight flights from the States are horrendous.
Yeah, the red eye. You haven't got a red eye, mate, but the red eye, I did it. I did it many, many times, probably 24 times. I took the red eye from New York to London. So I feel your pain. Congratulations on seeing it through. Hopefully that lack of sleep won't disturb your answers as we get into the show, mate. We'll find out.
I've got to tell you something. If I needed an adrenaline rush to help me get me through the day, those 2 interviews provided it. So very happy, very pleased with those. So yeah, still buzzing from those, to be honest.
Well, we're gonna talk through that in just a second. Chris, welcome back to the show, my man. How are you?
I'm good. No red eye, but I've got a bit of red cheeks going on just from my running that I've just got. I say running. I'm doing myself a massive credit there. It's more like, I call it slightly aggressive wobbling is what I do on the treadmill. I'm good. Apart from that, I didn't die, so that's a positive. So here we are. Let's crack on, talk some Tottenham.
Let's do so, mate. I'll put you in the man in the middle. The referee can be the man in the middle between.
Always got my car, especially when Lubo's on, because I know he'll have some terrible refereeing takes.
Well, listen, Lubo's about to show you. He's also found himself. He hasn't just got the red. I'm not sure what that was, but you've also got your 7-point manifesto, haven't you, Lubo? He's finally found it, ladies and gentlemen. He has finally found the 7-point manifesto. So
very relevant today, Sean. Very relevant.
It is very relevant. Let's stop. I'm not gonna bring up any sort of quotes or any commentary. We know the story. If you're a Tottenham fan that are watching, we know what's going on. Vinay came out this morning and said, essentially, the Don is back from his 2-year absence. He's been promoted to sporting director, which initially led most of us to think, well, what does that mean for Johan Lang? And then we find out that Johan Lang has got the dual role. And then we find out that that sort of, I don't know whether they're specific, focused, fixed or whatever, but the essential, the kind of the pathway is that they do have their own expertise. Vinay, your CEO, Lubo, your CEO has been spinning this one as 2 heads are better than one. My initial take is that these things rarely work. Lubo, I'm going to come to you first. Go where you want with it. There's apparently some sort of divisions of labour that have been lined out. As I said already, the youth team apparently is apparently is Johan Lang's division, but yet youth team pathway and loan deals fall under Paratici's remit. Paratici gets to handle the transfers. He gets to be the guy in negotiations. I don't know, mate. I think this is I think this has got trouble written all over it in the long term. But Lubo, how do you feel about it, mate?
Possibly, how do I feel? You've got two people that are meant to be on the same level, but one has more of a key role than the other. Is how I interpret it. It's all geared to bringing players through for the first team and for the success of the first team, which basically is what a club lives or dies on. So for me, Paratici is back. Delighted. Thought he did a great job when he came, when he joined. Brought Bentancur and Kulusevski in. I think he brought Romero as well. Romero, for me, I love him. I know he's inconsistent at times. He can go walkabout, but I think he's a superb centre back. Conte benefited from his next two buys, Bentancur and Kulusevski, when he went from 9th to 4th that year. He's gone out and he bought kids. I say kids. He bought Udogie, who was a great prospect. Bought Pape Matar Sarr. He brought Vicario in. So for me, I'm very happy that Paratici's back. Very, very happy. You know, Paratici was away in terms of being a full-time chief head of scouting, etc., etc. He was away for 2 years. And in those 2 years, Ange spent 380 million on 18 players, plus a couple of Werner loans. And only 4 or 5 of them out of those 18 were first team starters. So for me, I'm very, very pleased he's back. And I think he's going to be the more senior. He's the more senior.
Sorry, just quickly, let me interrupt you there. So in principle, the idea of Paratici returning, you're happy with?
Yes, very.
Okay. I'll stop you there because I agree with you. So I should have probably said that at the start, because when I said I think it's got trouble written all over it, I'm delighted he's back as well, like you are, for probably the same reasons. Let me just grab Chris's take on whether he's happy he's back, and then we can get into the kind of semantics of the political kind of like navigation here, because I think that's where the problems probably sit. Unless, Chris, you don't rate him. How do you feel about him coming back?
I'm launching straight into semantics, Sean, if that's all right.
Go on then. Okay, go on.
I just don't buy that he's back. I just don't think he's gone anywhere, has he? I mean, let's be honest. He's always been around. He's been at matches. He's been on his phone. Look, we'll never know for certain exactly what he's been doing in the last couple of years, but we know without question he's been doing work on behalf of Tottenham Hotspur. So for me, it just looks on paper as though you get a ban from the regulator, the governing body rather, who says you can't formally be employed. Lo and behold, he's not formally employed, but we'll go and hire you as a consultant. And when the ban's over, we'll finish with the consultancy. Now you can come back and work for us again. So I'm not sure. I don't know. I'm not privy to it, but I'm not convinced that there's a massive difference. That doesn't mean, though, that there's not potentially problems ahead, right? For sure. I think it does come down. I'm not bothered about the job titles. It might have been easier and there might have been slightly less concern about it if they'd have called them different titles. But nevertheless, the key issue is the boundary of responsibilities, isn't it? So whatever you call them, it probably doesn't help giving them the exact same title. But even if you call them something else, it might give the optics of looking a little bit better. But still, as you say, the devil's in the detail. In terms of do I rate him, I don't mind him. I'm certainly not sitting here going, oh my God, he's terrible. I'm not at the other end of the fence thinking he's amazing. I think we've definitely had some good signings, and we've definitely had some, not just ones that were a little bit disappointing, some really bad signings as well. So it's probably the easy option, because let's be honest, it's not as though we've gone around and looked across world football and gone, who's the best person? We've just gone, well, he's already here, isn't he? So let's just give him a contract. So that's kind of how I see it. But yeah, we can get into the semantics of role responsibility and stuff by all means.
Well, this is the thing, Lubo. Like, I think Chris makes a good point. Like, he has been unofficially still present at certain points. However, he wasn't allowed legally to participate in any negotiations. And I think that the biggest plus for me in this environment is that if Daniel Levy's left the club, like we know he has, I think that he took a lot of responsibility for those sorts of things on, especially given Paratici's ban from the footballing negotiation side. He wasn't officially allowed to be involved in anything. I'm sure he gave his, contributed somehow. But then Daniel Levy, rather than handing that stuff over to Johan Lang, probably, arguably, and I'm inferring here, he probably took that stuff again under his own wing. So like the kind of the reins were always under Daniel Levy's control, Lubo. And I know how strongly you feel about Daniel Levy. With him out of the way, in any other football club in the Premier League, a chairman moving to one side, if there was a stability, sort of like a rock in place within regards the footballing side of the operation, that had the traditional roles and responsibilities that a normal director of football would have, you'd probably expect that the chairman moving to one side wouldn't be a big deal. But at Tottenham, it probably was. And so with that absence of Daniel Levy, there's a bit of probably an abnormal, like a disproportionate amount of new accountability that needed to be filled. And so Paratici now has come back in and has the ability to now participate in meetings. And so for me, Lubo, that's a bigger deal than Chris probably is alluding to, thinking that, I don't disagree with Chris, by the way, that Chris is saying that nothing's really changing because he's always been there. But the actual ability to have someone in the room negotiating that isn't Daniel Levy is probably the biggest deal of this whole thing.
Okay, before I come on to that, can I just answer Chris?
Yeah, of course.
In terms, appreciate, he's never really gone away, correct? But what Sean was saying initially, you'd say, Paratici has started to build an academy. So you've got goalkeepers like Gunter and Keeley that were coming through. All of a sudden, Lang goes and gets Kinsky. You got Mikey Moore coming through, and he goes and gets Odebear and Tel, which is completely at odds with what Paratici was trying to build. So,
well, we don't know. The only thing with that, though, is I sort of notionally take the point, certainly about the structure of the youth academy and that, but we don't know what role Paratici had. I mean, if he's there as a consultant on transfers, which Vinay says he is, surely he was consulted on the transfers when it came to Odebear and Tel. Otherwise, what are we paying him for as a consultancy?
Right, but you don't have to take the word of a consultant every single time, do you?
Yeah, but if we thought he was any good, right? I strongly suspect that Spurs with Lang have probably just hedged their bets a little bit. If there was a real confidence during this process that Paratici would only get a couple of years ban and come back, we probably might not have ever seen Lang, right? We'd have just dealt with the situation as it is. But I think that's what's caused us problems potentially here, is that in hedging our bets, because Paratici might have been banned permanently forever, then we have made certain changes in the last couple of years, which probably Paratici may not have done. So I think that is an issue. But yeah, I mean, we'll never know in the last 2 years exactly what Paratici's role was, but he must have been consulted, presumably. Otherwise, why are we paying him as a consultancy? What, to make the tea or something? I think he's probably still. Sean's absolutely right. He can't be in the room. He can't lead negotiations. So that change is unquestionable, and that will have a big effect. But really, his suspension was just from officially being employed. Doesn't mean he still couldn't have done the stuff in an indirect way, right? You get his advice, and you've got him on WhatsApp in the meeting. He just can't be in the meeting, right? So
no, but
that's my perspective on it. But we'll never know exactly how much influence he has had in the last 2 years.
You're right. We won't know. We can just have a view of what the optics are. The optics are we bought loads of kids.
Yeah.
When Paratici sort of took a back, let's say he took a back seat. Lang's taken the front seat, and we bought loads of kids instead of bringing them through from the academy. And apart from Scarlett, who stood at the club because the loan deal fell through on the 1st of September, I think, everybody else has gone out on loan. We got 12 or 13 out on loan now, which again is at odds with what Paratici was trying to create. In terms of going forwards, Sean, for what you asked, I think Paratici and Vinay are going to be your negotiating team. I think Vinay will take the place of Levy. Paratici will carry on doing what he did, probably in tandem with Levy when Levy was chairman up to a couple of years ago, and that's where I see it going. I think I think Frank will give that. Now they seem to. It appears they've got rid of this wage cap, data analysis based on wages and the type of players they're looking at. Frank has got them. Frank will have them in line with what he wants going forward, which I think possibly caused problems in the last transfer window, whereas we didn't actually pick up all the players that we needed. And I think some of that is to do with the fact that Frank came in halfway through, wasn't around from the end of January when they started looking at players that they wanted for this summer. I think for me, it bodes well. There seems to be they're building a structure now at the club. It's getting organised from a football point of view. They're looking more and more like a serious club now. When Sheikh Mansour brought in the guy from Barcelona in 2009, 2010, he put together a structure with good footballing people. We've never really had this in place, where it's gone literally from the top, and you're looking at, for me, you're looking at the owners, whereas Levy was very hands-on. The owners now are taking a big back seat. And so Vinay is now taking the place of Levy, in effect. So you've got employees rather than owners who are running the show, which is what most of the other big clubs do. You never see Sheikh Mansour. You never see John Henry involved. You don't see Jim Ratcliffe involved in transfer negotiations.
Yeah, I hear you on that. I agree.
So we've now got a footballing structure,
But who is it? I don't think it's going to be Vinay either, right? Vinay wasn't that guy at Arsenal. So if it comes to, and we'll come to the conversation later about the kind of mechanics of the deal with regard to Semenyo, because there is some news out tonight regarding a release clause that I think actually does play into Tottenham's hands a little bit more than it does other teams. So we'll come to that in the second half. But let's just sort of front run the conversation here. Semenyo, there's a negotiation that might be able to happen, right? Just argument's sake. I don't think that is something that Vinay is known for doing at Arsenal. It wasn't him before. It was Edu, right? So who is it that's going to be? Is it going to be? Would it be Paratici that would be sort of front and center in the kind of hemisphere of negotiations going forward, or will it be Johan Lang? And I guess this is where my concerns lie. Is like, even if you have divisions of labor that might be outlined here, where one, like, you're responsible for this, you're responsible for that. If one person's responsible for one thing, the ramifications of that deal or that concern or that argument are going to overlap into the ability for the other person to do their job, or the other person to just be able to kind of claim credit. And Lubo, you work in business. I don't know, before you worked for yourself, I'm sure you worked in some sort of corporate environment. Chris, you worked in betting, right? So I'm sure you've been involved in corporate worlds. I'm sure we've all seen, and anybody that's watching this who has worked in corporate environments, the one thing that you know for certain is that egos are going to ego, and there's always conflicts. If two people have the same amount of power and they are both looking for their ability to kind of, put their head above the parapet and try to take credit, there's going to be egos that will lead the directive, and that's what concerns me, is that there's no captain here. There's just two vice captains across the footballing world, and I think that's a problem for me.
Is this not where Vinay is the final say? Has the final say, should I say?
But what's the point if you can't hand over responsibility to one captain within a division? Then there's no real. What's the point of having that?
Well, then the boundaries have to be very clearly set out. and both parties have to work within those boundaries. Because once you start getting crossover, then you start getting,
you've already seen it in the divisions of labour that have already been aligned, right? So, just quickly, right? So, Paratici comes into play 5 years ago, right?
Yeah.
One of the first things he does is he gets the ear of Daniel Levy and says the youth system is a shit show.
Correct.
We got to tear this up, right? We all agree on that, right?
Yeah.
And he's gone about doing that. And he's built a different model. He's encouraged the club to pay more fees for players that are top talent, whatever.
Yeah.
These things take time, but they're starting to show the green shoots of that recovery.
Yeah.
At the same time, he then goes through his own problems. He gets sidelined. Someone else comes in, Johan Lang. And then I don't know whether it was just his directive or just a directive from the club generally. At the same time, Daniel Levy decides to pivot towards a youth-centric approach. But we had this conversation on Monday night, Lubo, in immense detail. That is there not a pathway for the people that are coming through the first team? Coming through the youth system, is that blocked because we're going out and buying Pape Sarrs, Lucas Berghvalls, Mathys Tel, Odebears, etc. Right? So you have someone that's coming in buying players that are essentially cop blocking the previous guy who was only on. I'll call it a loan away from the football club for a couple of years. All of his hard work might have already been celebrated far better had we not spent the last couple of years in his absence not buying 21-year-olds, 20-year-olds.
Great. No, great.
You've already got Paratici going, this prick is going out and spending 100 million quid on younger players that are now cop blocking the work that I did before I went on leave, right?
Yeah.
And then they're now coming back to work together with divisions of labour that don't really overlap, apart from that one of them is responsible for the youth academy and the other one is responsible for the loan system, of which the youth academy is the primary benefactor or the primary recipient of the value, good or bad. To me, I'm like, you've already got egos. You've already got two people that don't want to play second fiddle to each other. If Vinay came in and said, Johan, we're bringing in Fabio, but he's going to be your boss, Johan would have gone, what? Fuck off. I haven't done anything wrong. And if he said, Fabio, do you want to come back, but you're going to play second fiddle to Johan? He would have gone, absolutely fucking not. I'm going to go to Milan. So instead, he's made the easy choice of going, don't worry, you can be your equal buddies. To me, it just screams of like an easy solution to a very complex problem. And I don't think it works.
There would have been several discussions between all of them, wouldn't there, before this was announced?
Probably.
You know, so if there were fights going on, arguments behind the scenes about where the boundaries finish and where they blur, then surely they've had those discussions already before it was announced, before in the interview that the guy had with the two of them, they were outlining the areas that they're responsible for. I think there's got to be a consensus between the two of them that they're going to work together on certain things, and they're going to work through disagreements, and they're going to have to come to a decision. Sometimes Fabio will get his way, sometimes Johan Lang will get his way, and I think it's give and take, and it's got to work that way. Otherwise, it's not going to work. Otherwise, you're going to have two egos that are fighting for supremacy, and and want their way on any decisions, where there's where the two areas infringe upon each other. So they'll either make it work or they won't make it work. And for me, if it doesn't work, there's only going to be one winner, and that's Paratici. That's Paratici.
Why?
Because I think if you go on what they've done for the club up to now, then for me, I think Paratici. I know. Listen, every director of football brings in players that don't work. We've had Emerson that hasn't worked. Just as one example, we spent a lot of money, 26 million. It didn't happen. But for me, apart from Berghvall, I'm not sure how many successes Lang has had. And for me, Paratici came in, sorted out the scouting network and recruitment, sorted out the academy, brought in some very good kids in Udogie, Pape Matar Sarr, brought in Romero, brought in Benson Corculo, etc., etc.
It's taken 3 years for Paratici's young players to figure out. You have to give Johan Lang the same amount of time, right?
Yes, but if there's a clash before that, Sean, and decisions are going to be made.
I know, I hear you. I'm just saying that, like, people, you might lean in to go, well, the only stories that we know of that were successful were Paratici's, but it took 3 years for Pape Sarr to be a success story.
Yes.
Let's not forget, most people were writing off Pape Sarr, right? And so, Odebear still has 2 years or a year and a half before we should be writing him in or out of our future if we're giving the same sort of leverage or sort of levity towards some of the Johan Lang stories.
It's going to be interesting because my first thought was, Paratici come in. My feeling is he will be involved in the more important parts of the overall job that they've got to do there. But then Frank and Lang go back a long way, don't they? So it's going to be a very, very...
Which is actually the next thing I want to bring in, because I think that there might end up being some sort of clicks here, because there's also a director of football that's going to be hired up. Chris, I do want to bring you in though, mate. Lubo and I've just been speaking, obviously, for the last couple of minutes there, 10 minutes or so. Do you see the same sort of problems or concerns, or are you not seeing
I'm currently, you alluded to my job. I'm currently doing some consultancy on IT processes for a business right now, and accountability is one of the problems. And one of my favorite phrases is shared accountability is no accountability at all. When things go wrong, someone has to take the blame. And there's a big risk here that you'll just have people pointing at each other. And even almost more than that, it's possible to break it down and sort of delineate between this is you and this is you. But when they're interdependent, that is a big problem potentially. So just playing devil's advocate, how do you measure Lange's success if he's saying, look, we've developed all these great youth players and Paratici just doesn't create the pathway for them into the first team? So ultimately, I do kind of subscribe to the view that there's very likely to be problems here. I can't see how it's just going to be smooth. But there is enough. I don't think there's any question. There's enough work here for more than one person. So the devil is in the detail. How do you whether we've split those responsibilities up correctly? I don't know. And let's be fair, in that video clip, Vinay is not going to go, for the benefit of all Spurs fans, let's have a 3-hour presentation on exactly how we're going to split these. He's just giving you headlines, right? So, for example, on the loans, he said Paratici is responsible, but it would make more sense to me, for example, if Paratici is responsible for the loans that come in for the first team. Well, and then you have Lang maybe. In terms of all the youth players going out, that would make sense to me to sit with Paratici. So more detail to it. But yeah, I definitely think.
Oh, interesting. Okay, sorry. So the overlap there would be, rather than seeing there's a problem, you're saying that the loans that Paratici are overseeing are people coming into the football club. But the youth team loans would be
no idea. But
yeah, okay.
I just know in that few-minute video, he's just giving you headline snippets. He's not going to go into all the detail because we are fans and we don't need to know all the detail, do we? So we might want to, but from a football club perspective, they're never going to go, let's tell the fans everything. So, but that is ultimately what this comes down to. We won't know the detail, but how well that works in practice between them, I just can't imagine that there's no scenarios where this is going to turn into a blame exercise. It's all good when it's all good, right? But when things go wrong and there are questions to be asked over whatever it is, that's the crunch time. And yeah, I foresee there probably will be issues. I'm with you on that.
The other thing also, you mentioned about a director of football to come in. If Paratici goes and gets Gabbianini back,
which apparently been spoken about on Twitter tonight as well, right? Then
you're talking about, he
left the club. As far as I remember, it was he walked away from the football club because he wasn't offered the chance to step in to the role when Paratici had to move aside. So would he want to come back in to play almost a more diluted role than he previously had with another boss? And also, let's talk about this. Let's hypothesize here. You got a director of football like I said this on a video I did with Saba earlier, right? Saba was saying like you got two sporting directors that we don't know who's in charge of who there, and then you have a director of football behind it. Historically, we've had a director of football which that title has meant the top of the food chain, but now you're behind two people that aren't even one boss above another anyway. First of all, who do you report into, which is complicated, and secondly, is it more just like the director? Like I've seen businesses before where a receptionist is essentially given the title of like vice president of communications. You know, is it like are we in the sort of situation there where do you really need three people in that same sort of vogue? And so is the director of football role essentially just a glorified head scout?
Quick question, because I'm not sure of the answer. I believe he said director of football operations, didn't he? I might be wrong, but that's quite an important distinction if that's what was said.
So what would be the difference? How would that look?
Well, for me, operations is very much around the admin, looking after the staff that are dealing with competition regulations, like bonuses, fines, all that kind of paperwork type stuff. I would have assumed, but
okay.
But that I don't know. Again, I'm not 100% sure exactly what was said, but for me, that the operational side would be more admin stuff, and you can understand what. And companies like Tottenham got a lot of admin staff.
I did say that, yeah. I did say that. You're right, yeah. I did say that.
So that's what I would imagine. That's what I would read into. I mean, I worked in football governance before I worked in betting. There's a lot of admin.
So then a Gabonini is entirely irrelevant in that situation, right?
Well, I mean, we'll see by who they appoint. That might tell you something by what their background is, right?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. Okay, so let's assume for a second then that we'll play the hypothetical, Lubo, that there is someone coming in that's going to be a head scout that's under the same umbrella as director of football or whatever. Either way, right? When you get to the crunch, is then you've got two different people there. You've got two different people with different minds, different takes on football, different priorities. One of them seems to use the data to identify potential targets that then goes and watches them play 20 times before their eyes tell them which one they prefer. And the other one that seems to let the data sort of drive the decision, right? And I don't know which one's the best way of doing it, but you've got two different approaches. You have maybe some overlaps in regards, even if they're in charge of different areas of the football club with regards to the footballing side, you're still going to have overlap because ultimately, if one of them's based on the youth, the other person is based on the here and now, and then you've got Thomas Frank that's coming in saying, you know, I need a player now, I need a Semenyo, whatever. But there's also a Rayan, right, or a Bruninho from Brazil that's 17 years old, and you've only got this January to get him signed, or you're going to miss out on him forever. At some point, you're going to have arguments or discussions, debates between those two and at least Thomas Frank, maybe a director of football, depending on what that person's, if it's the football operations, maybe it's different. But like there's going to be several people in that room, and you're going to have people that are sitting there that are challenged with different motives because they have different things that are their priorities. They're different accountability metrics, as Chris was saying. How do you end up if there's no difference in the voting rights? What happens? Does it become like a hung parliament in politics where you end up with, you know, conservatives and the Liberal Democrats that are getting together like we saw, 10, 15 years ago, and you end up with no one's manifesto being actually facilitated here because there has to be compromise, in which case, does that really suit the benefits of Tottenham Hotspur? Or do you have a situation where they say, I'll let you have this one, I get the next one? To me, I just think like the absence of a central leader in that particular role, it comes across like, I don't know, dare I say it, that Vinay is taking an easy option here and going, we want him back, but it's too difficult of a decision to say he's going to be your boss, and he wouldn't come back if I said that this guy's going to be his boss. So let's just give you equal, and you guys figure it out. To me, I just feel like it's, I don't know, like it might sound good on paper. Let's spin it as two heads are better than one. But to me, I don't see how that's not going to have conflicts very soon.
Well, I think a lot depends on who comes in. If you get Gabbianini in, then you've got the Paratici Gabbianini team from 2, 3, 4 years ago. You can see Lang being sidelined a little bit when it comes to decisions, if you've got like a power base of those two. If Paratici is working closely with Frank, because at the end of the day, Frank's going to give them a list of players that he's interested in and the type of players that he wants, then you're going to have Frank, Paratici and Gabbianini all working closely together. And and Lang is going to end up working just, on the academy side with the kids. And there must be a pathway, you would think, from the academy to the first team if the players are good enough that is going to be set up. Otherwise, what have you got an academy for? Because the whole thing is based around making sure that the first team are as strong as possible. So you can see an area there where you're going to have where Paratici is going to be the more powerful of the two. But at the end of the day, I think it's if it's all about who they bring in for the first team, then I think Frank's going to have a lot to do, a lot of say here. So, but yes, why if you're bringing Gabbianini in as part of Paratici's team to go out and look for established players like they were doing previously, they brought Vicario in to replace Lloris, to use one example. Then, for me, there will be a very big division, a line down the middle where you've got first team, etc., that Paratici's dealing with, and then you've got the academy side that Lang's dealing with. And I think that's how it's gonna finish up. If it doesn't, then you could get big problems.
Chris, I've just quickly, Chris, before I'm going to I'll literally bring you in right now, but Pies for Eyes, big up to you. He says, plenty of clubs work like this. They will make decisions fine. We have to hope they are the right ones. I don't know of any team in the Premier League that has two people that are in charge of the director of football role, whatever you want to call it. Director of football or sporting director or whatever. I don't know of any football club in the Premier League that has two people with equal value, equal voting rights, if you like, and equal power. And it's either incredibly revolutionary or it's abnormal for a cause, right? It's unusual because it doesn't work. Is this like Ange Postecoglou trying to rewrite football with the two inverted fullbacks and playing gung-ho football? I win wherever I go. There's a reason why no other managers play that sort of football at this level. Is I don't know. I can't think of another football club in the Premier League that has two people that are in charge of, that are not directly involved with the first team, that actually have the same overarching power, and that there's no division of labour. No, at least no power. There's obvious difference between the two, Chris.
Yeah, look, I mean, the only point I was going to make was towards what you said about Vinay maybe taking the easy option, which I like that argument. Like, aesthetically, that's it looks good and it seems to fit. But this is a guy, I don't really know many, not that I know many CEOs of this level anyway, personally, but I don't think too many people get to his position and back away from difficult decisions. Like, you look at what he's done at Arsenal through a very difficult time, sort of the post-Wenger and some financial difficulties they had then to come through to the kind of newer era, navigating them through the pandemic. He can't be shy of making hard decisions. So whilst aesthetically your argument makes sense to me, I struggle to square that with, if that's the guy you've got as CEO who's going to take an easy option like that, that would be more concerning to me than any responsibilities that Paratici and Lang have got. Yeah,
people that are talking about that Thomas Frank had that at Brentford, he didn't. Phil Giles was the overarching chief at Brentford. I think there was a previous guy, Rasmus Ankersen, who was under his tutelage, but I'm 99% certain that there was no dual relationship there. I just worry about that. I've been around corporate world for like 90% of my career. Whenever I've seen these sorts of things, it's never worked out very well. Lads, let's
just last point on Vinay. I think I've also heard you on other streams or maybe on your own channel talk about, when you take over in a senior leadership position, you want to stamp your
authority, right? Yeah.
Again, that's another reason that then wouldn't make sense to me, that he's just kind of fudging it a little bit and just going with what's already there. So I want to really. I'm just struggling to get on board with that argument, just because I really don't want to believe that you've got a CEO who's just taking the easy option.
No, well, I listen. I hope that it's all fine. I really do. And time will tell. But I don't know. Like Lubo, if you and I were in charge of the decisions around a football club, right? And you rated Archie Gray and I didn't, you know. But I was responsible. I was responsible for bringing in Mathys Tel, and you were responsible for bringing in. I don't. You understand what I'm saying, right? Like at some point,
listen. I was Enoch out, you were Enoch in, and now we've switched. So I mean, I don't know how that will work, Sean, to be honest.
Yeah, let me ask you that for a second there, Lubo. How is it that you have gone from so vehemently Enoch out to now being Enoch in, when all that's happened is a bait and switch with the ownership? Well, what's going on there? How have you changed track so quickly?
It's based on hopes and dreams at this stage, because until we see how the owners perform with the money for the next 2 transfer windows, none of us know. What am I basing my hopes and dreams on? Joe Lewis is no longer making the main decisions, and Daniel Levy is no longer running the club on a day-to-day basis. So we got the kids, all of 60 plus, with fresh eyes, who are basically taking a back seat now. Whereas Levy micromanaged absolutely everything, every single initiative from all the staff had to go up to him to be signed off. Now it's different. Now I think people are going to see that they got more of a chance of being heard. And they're building a structure now. Point 3 on my manifesto was put together a short, mid, and long-term strategy, which I've never seen at the club in all these years. Just never seen it. And now, finally, we seem to be getting one. So
I was about to move into the Semenyo story, but you know what, Lubo? We haven't heard this 7 points, 7-point manifesto for a while. I'll give you 60 seconds. Name me your 7-point manifesto of what it is that you wanted from an ownership, and let's see if under these new guys that already we've seen things that have changed to justify your current pivot.
Firstly, to have owners with footballing ambition, because for me, it was previously all profit before glory. Number 2, the ambition ultimately is to build a top team. 3, put together the strategy I just mentioned. 4, in terms of buying players, buy early to give your manager time to integrate, not work at looking to save money on wages and pick up deals at the last minute. 5, buy the right players, not deals and opportunities. 6, pay the correct wages. And 7, also, which has got to sell at the right time at the right price. Not try and get as much out of clubs. Eric Dyer, Man United offered 15, Levy wanted 60. Dyer stayed. Pochettino didn't have the money to go out and buy that summer when he had no money at all. Prime example.
Yeah, but do you not think that some of that is driven by hindsight? Like, if Eric Dyer had stayed and he'd have been amazing and we'd have gone on to win a couple of trophies, everyone would have been like, what a brilliant decision not to sell him. But because he went on and he had a couple of bad seasons, everyone's like, why didn't we sell him? Do you not think those kind of things are affected a little bit now, saying it's easy to say we should have sold him. We should have sold Dele Alli before he dropped off a cliff. But
let me give you another example. Levy wanted 130 million for Ericsson, who had 1 year left on his contract because he saw Chelsea get that for Hazard. We ended up getting 17 million. Had he pitched it at 50 or 60 at the right time a year earlier, rather than scrabbling to get the 17 million from Ericsson in the January window, would have had money to
How do you know what he wanted? How do you know what he asked? How do you know what he asked for? What are we doing here, Luke?
Too many reports and too many.
Give me a Do me a favour.
At the time. And the press, it was in the press, it was in the press. It was in the press. Listen,
if that sort of story came out right now, you'd be saying, Sean Butler, you made a video about that sort of thing because Give Me Sport or Football Insider said that Daniel Levy wanted £125 million for Ericsson with 1 year left. Don't do me a favour. These are the things that shape your opinion, Lubo. It's nonsense.
And aren't all deals, aren't all transfers to some extent opportunity? Like Bentancur and Kulusevski were definitely transfers of opportunity, right? But they turned out well.
Exactly. Yeah.
It's just hindsight that drives it for me. It's like we criticise things because it didn't work out, but you've got to know at the point that you make the decision as to whether it's going to work out for that criticism to be valid.
Chris, the point of selling at the right time at the right price is basic solid economics.
Yeah, it's also a perfect world. Buy low, sell high. You'll be wealthy. You'll be a billionaire if you do that every day, Lubo.
No, but listen,
the problem with it as well is you've got a timeline that you don't know how it panned out. So let's just take Harry Kane. Like, we sold him when we did. How do we know that had we not sold him, we wouldn't have gone on to win whatever the next season? You don't know that at the time you're making the decision. You only, in hindsight, you can look back and go, it was good, it was bad. If Harry Kane had gone to Bayern Munich and been a complete flop, we'd all be going, oh, what a brilliant decision, you know. So I just think if you can say, I've no problem with those opinions, Lubo. If on the day we sign someone or on the day we sell somebody, we go, that's good, that's not good, and then you put your opinion on the line and we'll see how it pans out. I take it a little less with a bit more of a pinch of salt when we're looking back and applying what we know since the transfer to go, that was correct, that wasn't correct, because the people didn't know it at the time the decision was made. So
100%. Listen, we could argue all day about Lubo's ridiculous manifesto, and we will do another time. But listen, for right now, but I ain't kidding, Lubo. I love the fact that you dug it out. It took you 2 months to dig it out, but you found it. And we're going to laminate it.
Fair play to putting the effort into writing it, mate. Like
100%, mate. You can't knock the effort. Can't knock the effort. Listen, there's other news out tonight, right? So it's been dropped that apparently the Semenyo deal, the new contract does have a release clause baked in, and apparently it's around £70 million. And when I heard this about 3 weeks ago, and I initially thought that it was that meant. Oh, sorry, I initially thought that couldn't have possibly been a part of the new contract. It was part of the old contract, but it's turned out that it's in part of the new contract, and it's there to be triggered at any particular point in time. With Semenyo's outperformance this year, 6 goals, 3 assists, 9 GA in 7. Obviously, he's hot property. The teams that we know are interested in him are Arsenal, Tottenham, Manchester United, and Liverpool primarily. Liverpool, we know, have spent a hell of a lot of money. They have received a lot of money back, but they've also got a shed load of problems in their defensive side of their game, not just in defenders, but in defensive midfielders. So if there was an opportunity for them to sign him, you would probably imagine they'd have to wait until the summer. Arsenal don't really have any money to spend unless they sell Martinelli and Trossard to afford it. For all of those things to happen in January, that becomes quite difficult in a very difficult window. Manchester United, they've already spent 220 million quid on Cunha, on Mbumo, and on Sesko, who's been an absolute shit show, as I said it would be. And the reality is that they also need to go and fix. I still think they need to go and fix their goalkeeper. Semi Lemons is an absolute disaster. I said it when they signed him. I think the guy's absolutely useless. Don't know why they did that. They've got to go and get some centre backs as well, and they need some cover in their fullback positions, and they probably need a midfielder. All of their intentions seem to be around trying to get Adam Wharton, trying to get whatever by their midfield stuff. So I can't really foresee them prioritising a left winger in January. On that basis, with the knowledge that there is a release fee that can be triggered at any time, and it's around 75 million quid, is there really any excuse? No excuse for our new owners, Lubo, our new owners, your owners, to be able to sit there and go, you've got Paratici and you've got it should be no-brainer, right?
Definitely. Complete no-brainer. We want the V team to go and sort it out. V for victory, V for Vivian, V for penalty. That's what we need. We need a victory here with this transfer. Let's go and do it.
Do you think we can convince Semenyo to come? I think he's earning 110, 105 grand a week, something like that, at Bournemouth under his new contract. You could easily go and double that. You could easily go and pay the release fee. We could get that one done ahead of other teams.
Yeah. This is like point one. Ambition. Let's show that ambition. Let's see if they're serious. You know, they've done all the talking. There's been three admissions of interest posted by different companies in terms of buying the club. The Lewis family have said no to every single one. So so let's see. You know, they want to keep the club. If they're serious about keeping the club, if they're serious about building the club, and they're serious and they can see that you know, you look at the 2019 season where we got to Madrid in the Champions League final. That was our best year for profit. Yeah, in the history of the club. And the two, football success and financial success do correlate. So someone somewhere must have seen that and said, you know what are we doing here? You know, it's all very well, we're making X amount of profit each year, and we're only losing money because they're writing down the ground, they're writing down different assets, which put them in a lost position. But in terms of operating profit, they made 282 million in the last 2 financial years. So they're making profit. They can make even more profit. And I just, me personally, what I hope is that the 2 kids have come in and they've seen it and they're saying, do you know what? There's so much money to be made here. We're under potentializing, and what we're doing is, you know, great. We're building the commercial side. Levy did a very good job building the commercial side.
Sorry, say that again.
Yeah, no, he did a very good job building the commercial side. I've said that previously. But where are we falling down? We're not making the money we should be making because we're not as successful as we should be. So let's make the football club more successful. Let's be in the Champions League a lot more. And the profits.
I've always said that there's the left wing is the most oversaturated position in world football, right? And I'm going to come to Chris after this. If not Semenyo, let me get in the camera. If not Semenyo, then you have Lookman. If not Lookman, you have Malik Fofana.
Yeah.
And if not Malik Fofana, you have an outside chance of Yildiz, Kenan Yildiz, right, from Juve. Yeah. Now Yildiz doesn't want to leave Juve because he loves the club. He's Turkish superstar, but he's got like some infatuation with Del Piero. He grew up just worshipped at Juve, but Juve are struggling, right? Juve are screwed financially, FFP wise. So there's an offer that you can make them that they would have to say, sorry, Kenan, you have to go. We need the money. There's also a situation at Lyon that no one's talking about. And by the way, if you guys haven't seen it, go over to Sean Butler TV and check out the video I made about Eagle Football Holdings. They're on the brink. That guy has to pay $80 million of interest per annum before he pays off the nominal. Right. And they're going to that club is going to be handed over to Arias Capital, who's a private equity firm, in the next 24 months, unless he figures it out. I can't see how he's going to do it. So you put in a good offer to Malik for Malik Fofana. He can go. He could be attainable. Ademola Lookman is unhappy in Atalanta. They don't like him. They don't want him. He doesn't want them. There's something going on there with the whole relationship. But he's an absolute baller. And you have Semenyo that everybody wants. If it's February the 1st and we don't have one of those 4 left wingers, to me, Lubo, we have failed massively.
And there's two more.
Every one of them is brilliant, and every one of them is available.
There's 2 more to add. There's talk about Kevin Schade at Brentford.
I'm not interested in him versus the others.
The other one, was it? Have I pronounced it? Akliouche?
Yeah, but he's a 10. He's a 10.
He's a 10. Okay.
He's a very good 10. He's at Monaco, and Monaco have also got problems because they got their owner Rob Liablov, whatever his name is. He wants out, and there's issues there. But
We'll see.
The other four are out and out left wingers that are out and out better than what we have, miles better than what we have, and all of them there is a recipe for Tottenham with money to go in there and take advantage of a situation ahead of everybody else.
Well, you would think that for January the number 11 is going to be the priority. We got Cullen Moine is there for the season, so fine. End of the season they'll be re-looking. Obviously, I would think of another centre forward to bring in the summer. But for January, we all read it. Spurs have said that the number 11 is the priority. I think Frank said it in an interview, I'm sure. So for me, that's the one player, that's the one position we really need to strengthen in January. If Semenyo's got a release clause and it's 75 million, test the water. Listen, we haven't got him. The worst thing that can happen is he says no, but if you don't ask, you don't get. So go in and try. Work it out. If you got to go to 80, you wouldn't need to go to 80, but if you need to go higher with wages, then they would have gone into that. They would have gone into that negotiation with their figures in place, knowing where they can get to wages wise. Definitely, for me, you got Kudus on one, Semenyo on the other. Go and get yourself a great centre forward for next season. What a front three! That will be superb. Not sure Harry's coming though, unfortunately.
He's not coming anywhere, mate. You have to give up that goose there, Chris. Let me ask you, mate. I've laid it out to you. For me, there's 4 top draw wingers that are gettable this January. I've told you why. If you disagree, let me know why. But if we don't walk away February the 1st, if one of those people is not wearing a Tottenham shirt, I think Tottenham have failed.
Yeah, I think that's a relatively balanced position. I mean, you can get into the ins and outs of what does anyone think about each individual player. Like for me, there's got to be a reason why Lookman's been hawked around most of Europe during the summer, and not one person took the risk on him. But I think the general point of by the time the window closes, we should have a significant upgrade in the left wing position. I can't disagree with that. Semenyo would seem to present a great opportunity. I don't think anyone should land on a position of if we don't get X player, it's a failure, because there's too many variables in that. So even though you laid out a very coherent argument as to why certain clubs wouldn't be in for him, football doesn't work in a coherent way. So you can still imagine that this shiny new toy is available over here. You've got a dreadful gap in the team over here, but they still go for the shiny new toy. So
I hear.
Yeah, I could see a number of teams going in for him. But I agree. Then I pivot to what Lubo just said. I think Semenyo's a great opportunity. I think he ticks all the boxes we want, including the often debated Prem proven box, which is how much weight you put on that is up to you. But like you said, you don't know if you don't try. So if we go in for a Semenyo or we go in for anyone else and they choose another club, because we still have to be aware of where we are in the grand scheme of things. And realistically, we're not going to go toe-to-toe really for any players like Semenyo or probably any of the other ones you've mentioned if Liverpool or Bayern or someone like that come in for them. So we just have to accept that. But don't let that be a reason you don't try in the first place. So, but I completely agree with you. I think it's a really important window for the Levy family stroke Enoch version 2 or whatever we've got, at least to show. I could live with it if we get through the end of it and all we've done is fix the left wing. I think we have a lot of other areas for sure. But if we got to the end of it and we hadn't fixed that when it's such a glaringly obvious issue, that would be of concern to me. So I think, they just need to back that up at the very least with just one side. Look, I think January is difficult. Also, going back to Lubo's manifesto, I think January particularly hard to get players over the line early, simply because if I've got a great player, even if I accept that he's leaving, I'm still going to be like, well, actually, I'll just keep him as long as possible because he's my best player. So you can have him in the last week. So I think it would be hard to get them in early. But there's no reason why. Would Semenyo join us? I don't see why not, but we have to be his best option, right?
Do you think the Arsenal connection is a so I've gone back and forth on this.
Right? Sean, I couldn't give a
I don't care either. But I am guilty of like flip-flopping a little bit because a couple of weeks, I think it was a week ago, I put a video out saying we might as well write it off, right? Like he's come out and said he wants to join Arsenal, and Arsenal will find a way of making it happen if the opportunity arises. And we saw what happened with Eze. Now, as much as Johnny likes to remind me that through his connections, he's convinced that had Tottenham got the deal done and Daniel Levy not fucked around, then he would be a Tottenham player. It doesn't seem to matter anyway, because I'm more than happy that we've got what we've got in Xavi Simons. But other people have said to me, when Johnny says that, he's not really speaking the truth, because there was the argument came out that the night before he was going to join Tottenham, apparently he phoned Arteta and Arteta said, "Don't worry," right? So like, don't worry. Whatever happens, we're going to. Yeah, who knows, right? Who knows?
I have no issue with that, but my point of view would be, had Arsenal turned around and gone, "Look, we can't do it," I think Eze would have joined us if he was the best option. And I think he would have been a really good player for us.
100%.
He played for Arsenal. I don't care. So
do you? No. I'm sorry. I'm not saying that we should care the fact that he wanted Arsenal, but do you want to spend the entirety of January focusing on Semenyo like we did Porro? We started talking about Porro three Januaries ago, and it was like, will it happen? Won't it happen? It's not going to happen. And we were dealing with Varandas at Porto and Sporting, and he's a nightmare. Just for us to finally get the deal done, and then on the 31st of January for Semenyo to join Arsenal. That
the
would
one
be
thing I would say on that is that now Paratici is back, apparently. He does like to line up a number of deals, doesn't he? So the optics over the summer, and this would support that Paratici maybe had less of a role. The optics were that we got massively hung up on certain deals, didn't have anything lined up in the background, and then maybe pivoted too late because apparently we went in for Fana on the last day and whatever. We can only believe or choose to believe the bits of the media that we choose to believe. But Paratici, I'm sure, will have other opportunities lined up. What I wouldn't do with Semenyo is literally wait till the last day and go, okay, you've got to set a sensible deadline. And if that's a week before the end because we need to go and sign for Fana or whoever else it is, then fine. Let's learn at least a bit. That's my only criticism of the Eze deal. And this is a slightly hindsight rewriting my narrative, but we would have minimized the opportunity to embarrass ourselves if we would have just gone, look, everything's in place. We've agreed a fee. You've got your offer. It's a yes or no, and it's a yes or no in 48 hours time, or we will move on elsewhere. So I think we just need to learn that lesson. On the Arsenal supporting thing, I just remind people that one player who was an Arsenal fan as a kid was Gareth Bale, and that okay.
Yeah. This is what one of the flip flops that I've had. Right, I did say a couple of weeks ago, like let's just not waste our time with this one because we don't want an Eze take two. However, I've kind of slept on it, and I've been saying, in reality, every single player who's playing football right now in the Premier League, 90% of them would have probably supported a team that is currently in the Premier League when they were between the age of 6 and 18 or whatever.
Honest, mate, it's not even about that. Let's just be honest about every single transfer for almost every player, especially one of Semenyo's kind of profile. Do we really think that when Spurs or any sort of decent but not elite team come in, that they are not trying to get every opportunity then to ring up any other club going, by the way, are you interested? It's probably happening on every single transfer, to be honest. And then 100%. They'll commit to Spurs when Spurs are their best option. But
did Brennan Johnson support Tottenham before he signed for them? No. Did James Maddison support Tottenham? No. Did Micky van der Ven support probably other Premier League club if he did? Probably.
These are their careers, mate, and they've got to support their family. And I know I turn everything to referees, but I sort of get that. I have the same kind of amusement with referees when they go, "Oh, this guy's hated United." Yeah, he went out for 30 years refereeing the dog and duck just in the hope that one day he could get out on a pitch with Arsenal. I mean, like, have some common sense. Like,
well, listen, I don't want to get into it today, but the geezer, who is it? Who's a known Newcastle fan? What's his name? The younger referee, the guy who's been seen in a black and white.
Oh, Clattenburg.
Is it Clattenburg? He might be
talking about Michael Oliver, are you?
No, Michael Oliver, right? He's a Geordie, right? So like he shouldn't be refereeing games, that even if they're not directly involving Newcastle, even if they're indirectly involving Newcastle to the Champions League. Yeah, come on now. You know what we have to be real with this. There's every chance there's a slight.
Do you know what? Sean, you're quite right. Jermaine Defoe, Darren Bent are Arsenal fans. You know, Jamie Carragher supports Everton. Robbie Fowler supports Everton. Ryan Giggs was a Man City fan. I mean,
Dennis Bergkamp was a Spurs fan, wasn't he? I believe.
Correct. That's right.
Yeah.
Sugar
Yeah,
said no.
I hear you. I don't care about any of that stuff, like just the sort of nominal who do you support. But what I don't want to see happen is a situation where Tottenham spend all January trying to get hold of Semenyo, and then just there's like the kind of inklings of stories that you're going to have an Eze take two. But listen, like I say, there's 3 other players that I would, me personally, I'm familiar enough with very much with the players with Lookman, certainly with Malik Fofana, and with and Keenan Yildiz, and that if all 3 of those have an ability, it comes down to as well. And this last question before we round off, guys, is if let's just sort of speculate here. 75 million quid of your money, if you've got 100 million quid to spend, if 70. Oh, that's Savage show just in my background, just starting to go live. It scared me. If 75 million quid of your budget goes towards Semenyo, but there's a problem, there's a risk it might go awry. Would you rather go after someone with a little bit of a lesser budget, like a Lookman, if it meant you could go and get a Vlahovic or a Samu Agahawa from Porto, someone like a Adeyemi, someone that can also improve on the 9 spot, basically? How would you guys, in an ideal world, split that 100 million quid up? Just oversimplified, 100 million quid budget. Would you rather do it in a way where you could get 2 players in? Because before I bring to you just quickly up, there's a guy that I know from that works within the club in a certain way, and he has said to me today that he's pretty confident that every time he speaks to people at the club, that there's a very clear demand to get 2 players this January, a left winger clearly, and then someone else. He doesn't know what the other one is. But he's also said to me that Morgan Gibbs-White is also still very much a consideration at Tottenham Hotspur.
I mean, on Gibbs-White, I'd still be in favour of it. He's had a poor season, but, that guy's head must be all over the place. Bless him. It's no surprise that, given what happened with Gibbs-White, that he's not suddenly performing. So, but anyway, I'll come back to it. Lubo was going to speak, so I'll defer to him.
No, you buy what you need. What's the priority? And number 11. Spend 75 million on Semenyo. If you need another, say, 50 million for Vlahovic, just using that one player, just and say 50 million as a figure. You find another 25 million. You've got 125 million. They're bought over 5 years. It's 25 million you're finding there, there and then, aren't you? So, because of the amortization of transfers, I'm sure Spurs could find another 25 million. First of all, you go and get Semenyo. You offer them the money.
So essentially, you're saying just like whoever your first choice left winger is, spend everything you have to spend to get that done, and forget the rest. And if you have money left over, then you
get that done. You then relook, and if Frank says, "Do you know what? Is there any more money we can find? Do we need to get rid of anybody? Do we need to, or is the money there? I fancy him. Could we go and see if he's available?" The other thing also is that with Semenyo, if you go in for Semenyo first few days of January, you've got another 4 weeks to go, haven't you? So if you do want to go in for Fofana, and what you'll probably have is Paratici spinning all the plates at one time. So you're going in, and they'll be finding out who's available, who wants to join, and then they'll make the move. And if, as you say, if he's got 4 plates spinning, then we should hopefully get enough good news back, enough positivity back from some agent, one of the agents, to say yes, he'll come. So you say, fine, okay, let's move quickly. We've hopefully got a League Cup semi-final, 2 legs being played in Jan. We got Dortmund and Frankfurt final 2 games in the Champions
love the
League.
fact that you know our fixtures in January already.
Get them in early. Get them in early.
Listen, Lubo, quickly before I come to Chris, just one word answer, because then we got a round off after Chris's answer. Paratici's back. His connections are to Juve. Double swoop, Vlahovic and Kenan Yildiz. And by the way, Yildiz is just as exciting to me as Semenyo. He's not proven in the Prem, but he is a fucking baller, Lubo. He is unbelievable. 100 mil ski to Juve. Bring them both home. Not home, but bring them both to our place.
A bit like Bentancur and Kulusevski.
100%. Exactly.
3 years ago.
Exactly. Could happen, right?
Could be challenging with the others, couldn't we?
Well, we're not far away, mate. We're not far away.
For something. You never know.
What are you saying, buddy? What are you saying, Chris?
You never know. That's the dreamer in me. Sorry, that's the fan talking.
Yeah.
I love it, mate. I love it.
I mean, on the transfers, I think a couple of things. One, I assume we're floating around this 100 million figure because of what was announced the other week, but we've got no evidence that that's just going to player transfers. I think that's what we do as a football fan, right? We're going, who are we going to buy with it? But that could go to anything, that money.
Yeah.
And secondly, presumably, if they didn't do that, it wouldn't mean our budget was 0 for January. So I don't know what our budget is. I haven't got a clue. How do you build a squad? That's up for debate. As long as there's some sort of long-term plan. I think, though, what might happen in January is this January of all Januaries, there might be more opportunity to. This isn't ideal, but if you can't get the guy you want, I think there'll be opportunities to put at least a sticking plaster over it to the summer, because there's bound to be a number of reasonably decent players who are wanting short-term loans ahead of the World Cup. So if that happened, it wouldn't surprise me. Doing what Lubo doesn't want us to do, just take advantage of an opportunity that presents itself, right? If there's a left winger that isn't playing, it might even be, I wouldn't rule out it being someone like Savio, just for 6 months on loan. Like that, they might see.
He's cup tied now in all the competitions we need him for, apart from the Premier League, right? So,
well, fair enough. But I think those sort of opportunities will be there. So as long as we get to the end of the window and there's some sort of evidence, this probably does come back to Lubo's manifesto, some sort of evidence of a plan. I don't actually mind how we build the squad. Do you go and buy the absolute ballers? The problem is then if you do, you're probably not getting the depth. Do you try and get players who are slightly lesser quality but build a depth, and then down the line go for the next player and the player you've brought in becomes the sub? There's different ways to do it, right? But
Chris, I think we're in a fortunate position that we've got a lot of wiggle room for PSR. So we're in a position where we can buy the right. For me, the only important thing is you buy the right players. If it's a 5 million for Dele Alli, or if you go to a 75 million for a Semenyo, if the player's right, you buy him, and you pay the.
Yeah. But you never know if they're right until after the fact.
You don't. But you've got some sort of idea. If you do your due diligence properly, you know how the player, about the character of the player, how he mixes in the dressing room. Is he, does he gel in the dressing room, or is he a troublemaker? Is he moody? How does he come back after a bad hit, a bad injury, or if he gets dropped? If something goes wrong, can he pick himself up? Like Tel, got left out of the Champions League squad, has carried on training well, Frank said, and came back in against Leeds and made a difference. So, that's the sort of thing.
My number 10 is going to be fantastic for us.
Just my final point on that, though. We might have loads of wiggle room on PSR, and we can talk about amortization as much as we want. Actually having the cash to go and do it is a separate question. So just because the way we amortize transfer fees is not the same as how do you pay for it and what
liquidity. Yeah,
correct.
Yeah, 100%. And that's why hopefully the 98 million or the 90 million, whatever it was we got in the payday loan, is going to facilitate whatever else we have to work with, and the 100 million quid is something to work in that regard. But I hear you, mate. I hear you. It is. Listen, it's going to be exciting. And the one thing I can tell you guys is that for those of you that are watching, there's 400 people in the house. Please do smash the like button. Please do hit the subscribe. We've got a couple of super chats, and then we're going to hand you over to Saba in just a second. So stay where you are. But the one thing I can guarantee you, I'm so happy for it, is that the last 2 years has been really dry. As a guy who loves to send you out all of the loosest of transfer rumours, under Johan Lang, it's been relatively poor performance. I've not had much to work with, but now we've got the plate spinning, the wheel kicking, the absolute legend that is Fabio Paratici back. You know you're going to get 2 or 3 videos a day from yours truly as soon as we get some of those rumours out there. So make sure you smash the subscribe on that and hit a like if you don't mind the shamelessness. But we got a user, the super chat from AU's big up to you. He says, "Love you, Levy. You live us with the Don P. We miss you." I'll be honest, I appreciate the super chat, mate. I was surprised that Don Paratici was coming back. I said a couple of months ago, well, the second that Levy left, my initial thought was, well, with him going, you know, as Chris alluded to earlier, I think we both align with that on the idea is when new people come in, they want to stamp their own mark. And so I was surprised that Paratici's back, but I'm looking forward to it because I know that there's going to be a hell of a lot of stories for me to talk to you guys about every day. So look forward to that. And a super sticker from Ulrika Johnson, who's brought in just at the end of the show. Big up to you, Ulrika. The super sticker saying, thank you very much. So we can get yourself out of the bath. We're picking you up. The train is on its way. But we're going to send the train and all of you over to Sava. So stay where you are. Lubo, last words, and Chris, last words. Thank you so much for coming on. Really appreciate both of you. Anything anyone needs to know about where you're going to be found in the next couple of days?
Well, tomorrow night, Spurs 5.
Spurs 5 tomorrow.
See you there.
See you there, Lubo. Thank you very much, my man. You have to come up with a stronger answer than your 7-point manifesto. We're going to tear it to pieces. Now that you found it, now that you brought it back out, we're going to tear it up into 15 pieces.
You can try. You can try, Sean. You can try. Do your best.
I don't know. I just crop up as and when someone wants a horrendous take or someone just wants to complain about refereeing. I seem to get asked on shows then. But yeah, if there's an absolute stinker in the Spurs game at the weekend, I'll probably be on loads of streams next week. If there isn't,
you are like Chris. You're like the Tottenham Hotspur podcast Dermot Gallagher, aren't you?
With a little bit more hair. Thank you very much.
Oh, Dermot, you know, it's just you haven't got Stephen Warnock and whatever her name is on the show with you.
Yeah. Sue Smith.
I think that Chris looks a little bit like a young Buzz Aldrin. I've shown it to him on the. I think he looks like a young astronaut. So, Chris, thank you so much for coming on, mate. Listen, I love your takes far more than your refereeing styles, mate. I like your logic.
I've never seen me referee. Hold on.
What's that?
You've never seen me referee, mate.
No, I value you far higher than just your style.
Oh, I see what you mean.
I value your logic.
Had you been slating my refereeing, it probably would have been perfectly fair, to be honest.
You'd have gone to VAR to put him right, though, wouldn't you, Chris?
I've been retired for like 10 years. I've never had VAR in my day.
And despite the outcome of the VAR, I would still be telling everyone that I was right regardless, because that's how I roll. But listen, guys, we'll leave it there. Stay where you are, guys. Those that are left, we're going to send you over to Sava right now. Smash Spurs Talk Show raid or something of the like, whatever you want to say. So go in there saying Tel is awesome raid just to wind up Sava. And we'll see you tomorrow. Until then, like, subscribe, and comment. Thank you, Chris. Thank you, Lubo. And as always, bye-bye.